Our next keynote speaker is Nina Hapner, Director Environmental Planning from Kashia Band of Pomo Indians. Kashia, I apologize for that. And she will be giving a presentation on tribal knowledge, needs, and connections. Nina Hapner is the Director of the Kashia Band of Pomo Indians Environmental Planning and Salaji Descent. I hope I pronounced that right. Fair enough. Descent through her mother. She has held the director position with Kashia since 2009 and has a bachelor's degree from Humboldt State University. Yes, she knows it is now the Cal Poly Humboldt University in wildlife biology. Nina has over 25 amazing years working in indigenous communities, helping build capacity to protect tribal resources and building programs to involve young people. As much as she misses doing field work, her needs are grateful. Nina now focuses on training the wonderful younger people in the environmental department at Kashia. Welcome.
I've been making notes since I've been here, so I've been lots of writing things on here. Some really good presentations, thoughtful information, but I'll start out with Ostaiga. It's a good day. And Dokwa do Vihia, my name is Nina Hapner, and that's from my mother's side. And then for Kashia, as my children are from Kashia, Heimayaiwa. Hope you're all doing good. So if you wanted to respond back, it'd be Kodi. And if you were here this morning and you heard the gentleman from Habamoto, it's a similar word that they use where they're from in Lake County. So Kodi is good. I'm Nina Hapner. So as she said, I am the Director of Environmental Planning and Natural Resources for the Kashia Band of Pomo Indians. And anybody who knows me knows that I like little corny jokes. Always get a little nervous when I start to speak, so it kind of helps bring me down. So, what did one tide pool say to the other tide pool? I like your muscles. It just always helps. Would you mind advancing the slides when I say advance? Just so I can look at my reading, the things I've got here. Okay. So I'd like to thank the indigenous people that came from the Lake County area and talked about climate change and how it has impacted their environment and their lake. I struggled putting this presentation together because I started out where I had so much stuff that I would go past my 20 minutes. Is that what I have? 15, 10? 15. See, already out of concept there. But they set if you were here this morning and you heard them, then they set the pace. They set that base for this talk or for what I'm providing. And you should be thankful because it did cut my presentation down to something more manageable. But I was blessed. I was so happy to hear that because how do I explain to you what we're doing using tribal knowledge, where our needs are, connections? How do I explain that to you in a mere 15 minutes? Because tribes, when it comes to protecting our resources and protecting our important areas, that was taken from us when colonizers came here. And I would have to give you that whole history, and that would take a really long time. But they did that for me this morning and talked about where all that went. Still going to get a little history. I was happy to hear that some, although I have to admit in my mind, so anybody who knows me, I'm pretty transparent. I will try to be nice and appropriate at all times, obviously, because we're on webcast. Just laying it all out there for those who know me, who even know me on the webcast. But I was happy to hear that in some cases, the presentations they're giving, and I'm like, wow, they're finally getting it. Yes, you're right, there is connectivity. Yes, the dams do have to come down. If you separate people from their environment, there are health issues. Tribal people have known this for over 125 years, over 150 years, over 200 years. Because when colonizers came to this country, they displaced us from our areas, and they took away our ability to practice what's important and what is culturally integral to us, being able to teach our children how you collect things, how you do things. And so we already know that if you do not have a healthy if your community is not healthy, it's most likely because your environment is not healthy. And how do you get back to that? Even with some of the science data that was taken, like, oh, San Diego County, look at all this is going on. Pseudonychia is everywhere. Yeah, we know it. There's so many other factors that play into that. Yes, we know some of it's temperature, but it's also pollution that goes into the water. So much to cover. Oh my God, right? Oh my gosh. But I really appreciated listening to the presentations. I think that it was a really good overall bringing things together. So go ahead and advance. So I'm going to do a little history. I hope you can see this. I realized that when I was sitting in the very back row, that this is a little tiny for some eyes. At one time, I used to have dark hair, was a little thinner, was a little more athletic. Not so much anymore. My eyeballs have a much harder time reading small print, so I do apologize for anybody who is struggling. But this is Kashia territory, and you're going to see the word Kashia. You know, I have the Kashia territory, and then I have Kashia differently up there. Tribe interchanges them. Kashia is the older spelling. But tribal lands that today the tribe is still concerned with and stays actively involved with. Please, forward. So within that space, we reacquired, and I'll say reacquired lands in 2015 and 2016. So if you look at the top, where you have, not on the ocean, the interior, you have a little square. That's 81.85 acres, and that's what the tribe ended up with after Fort Ross, like the Alaskans came and the Spanish came. And we got that back in 1916 as somewhere to put our people, pushed and dispersed from Matini and other areas. What do you do when you're pushed out of your area? What do you do when you can't gather, when you can't fish? So 2015, 2016, 2015, we got the land next to it, the big piece. And I'll say between 490 and 510 acres. That's a BIA number. Bureau of Indian Affairs never has a correct number. Well, sometimes. That expanded the reservation, and that was put into trust within a year. Amazing speed. And then in 2016, we got the coastal reserve on the ocean. That's 678 acres. So we expanded. Now we have over 1,200 acres of land that we're responsible for. And we're still looking to add to it because people aren't going anywhere. We're still there. Advance. So the first thing that just is a little short history. Trust me, that's really short compared to what I was going to put in there. But I wanted to put this in here because this is something that the tribe practices and we talk about with our young people, and that is reciprocity. And I put the definitions in there for you just in case you weren't sure what that means. But I'm sure that you do, and it's the quality or state of being reciprocal. It is a mutual dependence, action or influence, and it's a mutual exchange of privileges. I don't know if you fully grasp what that means, but as a tribal person, that means everything that's provided to me in nature by the Creator, I need to be careful to be thankful for it and to honor it. Because if you do not protect it, if you ignore it, it will leave you. And how many things can you say today that with what's going on, that things are not leaving us? Saw a whole bunch of presentations talk about things that are disappearing. The two pictures in here, I'd like to point out Hannah, who's the elder there with the clapper, is an amazing person, and she is one of my teachers. And this is from an MPA video that we have called Kashia Pomo Tribal Traditions in the MPA. You can find it on YouTube if you want to look for it. But what this is showing is reciprocity. They're going out to collect seaweed, and she's giving a song. She's giving a prayer because she wants to make sure that it is understood that she is thankful the fact that it is there that can be collected and that it's there for us to use. Advance it. Just overall visuals, a little closer. This is the Long Point area that we got back in 2015. Go ahead and forward it. And then what are our plans? What are we doing? So timber harvest to open up the forest. We inherited, when we got this back, many thanks to those colonizers who came in and harvested for money, took out the big trees, destroyed the canopy, screwed up the soil, messed up the water in the watershed. Guess what? We now get to fix it. That's what our intent is. So we want to do a timber harvest that helps build resiliency and dealing with climate change into this so that the forest can breathe. It's like our lungs, and the same thing with kelp under the water. These are our lungs. It's important. Restoration, surveys and monitoring. So I have, obviously, northern spotted owl surveys. We're doing those, and Boudica. So we do black bear surveys with our youth, and we've been doing it. Thank you, Cal EPA, for 1 year funding us as well. We're going into our 4th year with our youth interns, and they actually learn how to do the monitoring. They put in game cameras, they learn vegetation, they learn how to do surveys, they learn about Boudica. So they talk to their community, they talk to their elders, their family members about the bear, because anything a bear eats, a person can eat. The bear teaches us how to be in the environment, teaches us how we treat our children, what foods you can eat, whether they're good for you or not. We also are doing an integrated resource management plan on the reservation. We have fire breaks, and we're going to bring back burning. I'm so envious of the tribes that are already doing that. I can't wait to get into that. And invasive species removal. Can you move forward? Oh, wow. That's interesting. Kashia Coastal Reserve. So this is the one we got in 2016. Forward. This we have a lot of work happening on. So restoration of our coastal prairie lands, restoration of upland forest to late cereal stage, utilizing Kashia tribal science and knowledge. This property is under fee, so we do follow state mandates and jurisdiction with this. And it's been an interesting journey, I think, on both of our sides with open land or open space with Sonoma County, especially when we're doing our timber harvest plan. So we're putting in Kashia tribal science, like how the tribe views this, how we want to see it happen. And they're coming back at us saying, can you show us some examples? Like, well, I would if we had been managing the forest for the last 125 years, but that's not going to happen. So you have to have us on faith. You have to trust us, because I've seen what you've done to the landscape. Not really impressed yet. So it's been a back and forth, very interesting, but we're getting there. And I think that's the important part. As Ryan said, when you build those communities, it takes time. You've got to talk with each other. You've got to get over those hard parts. Restoration of our upland forest, as I said, to late sterile stage, marine monitoring to gather baseline data based on tribal science and knowledge. And I find this interesting with the citizen science talk. As you said, we might be out of that framework. So whenever I talk to state agencies and I say, hey, we've got this going on, would like to know what you guys are doing, they're like, well, thanks, but we don't take citizen science information. Okay, well, for over a millennia, tribes have seen a problem, have said, put the hypothesis together, this is what I want to do, I'm going to test it. They test it, they ask those questions, am I going to die? Is it going to heal me? And they get an answer. How is that not science? So some of the things you guys know today know because of what tribal people have already done. So I never classify my tribal membership or my tribal people as citizen scientists. They have knowledge that goes way back before 1900 from their communities. Just wanted to put that in there. So the marine monitoring that we're doing, we are using Western science techniques, absolutely. Some of it works well, so why not use it? But we're putting the bend on it that we have Kashia knowledge and how we approach it. Every time we go out to monitor, even if we're not taking anything, we give something. So we're out in the ocean, we give something. We're in the forest, we give something, be it a prayer, a song, whichever our elders have said that we need to give. We are doing the monitoring for mussel and phytoplankton. We do work with California Department of Health with that. We send in our samples currently. We will start doing our phytoplankton identification in-house. We have a really cool microscope now. Can't wait to get using it. We do kelp aerial surveys. So as you saw, was it here? Oh no, it was sent to me in an email, sorry. I was thinking about it. An aerial survey I saw off of our coast. So we know we only have 10% back of our kelp. We do those surveys. We are actively going to be a participant in restoring kelp beds, and we have some of that going on through some of our NOAA grants we have with abalone. Education, huge thing. Youth stewards, youth groups, interns. We have a marine ecology program. And we're bringing tribal people back to the land. So a lot of our internships right now are focused on our youth, but we're trying to open that up to our older people. COVID-19 hit a lot of our community. And some of our older people, jobs lost. What do I do now? I can't go back to what I was doing. So we're starting to look at maybe we need to do an internship for that group. And maybe their new niche is environmental, doing monitoring, doing something different than what they were. And forward it. Resilience. Again, I put the definition in here. I just thought that'd be easier. So this is what we're striving for. The capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. And the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape, that elasticity. We listened to some of the talks earlier that talked, wow, we are not doing so hot. We got a ways to go and to make 30 by 30. And we have to listen to each other. We have to talk to each other. And we have to help each other build that resilience. And that's certainly within the tribe, that's what we're working at doing. We look at what's gone on, and we want to do it from a tribal understanding, putting that knowledge in there. And people will ask me, well, do you think it's going to work? Heck, I don't know. Because now we have higher population. We have so much in the emissions being put into the air, so many things going on, pollution that goes into the ocean. Because honestly, I'm good. I'm almost done. She gave me 5 minutes. I don't want more time. I can go longer though. But I honestly don't know. One of the big things we want to put back into our toolbox, besides the screwdriver and the hammer, is fire. And to our uplands. And I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know how much, it can't hurt. It's been removed from the landscape. And as we heard earlier, we've had huge fires, catastrophic fires, because burning was suppressed. And when people came to these lands, especially in our oak woodlands, they saw fires, they saw smoke all the time. Burning was going on all the time. And you have fire that can remove vegetation, but you also have fire that is set to spot fires to help with basket materials or food materials. And most of this landscape here, all the way out to Sonoma County, going up north, it's a fire-adapted landscape. And I understand that when the word fire comes out now, people are like PTSD, like, oh my gosh, people lost homes, people's lifestyles changed, people died. And that, I could say that happened because people who came in thought suppressing fire was the thing to do. I don't know, it's pointing fingers. But what I do know is that we need to change our mindset on how we use fire and understanding the landscape that we live in. Oh no, yeah, OPC. Caitlin talked about the kelp recovery 10%. And then I got an email too, so there we go. But we are monitoring that. Let's go to the next slide. So this is my most fun project. And not because I beat my legs up every time we go out onto the intertidal area. So the tribe, as part of our project, so we are part of the Tribal Marine Stewards Network. We're one of 5 tribes. And we have started doing 3D intertidal modeling. And we do a 9 meter by 33 meter plot. We take between 9,000 to 15,000 pictures at high resolution, and then we stitch them together with a really cool program we have. This is the Kashia Coastal Reserve in 2022. And I don't really think you can zoom in, but you can see it looks like it's just kind of rocky, right? Next slide. 2023 looks a little different. We have some green. There was so much algae and kelp around, a lot of algae, otono is what we call the seaweed that we collect. I still have scars on my legs from sliding and slipping, trying to hold rigs up to take our pictures. But it was amazing. And then we did that in June. We came back in August with Hannah, who was in the beginning. So to access this site, we have a lot of cliffs. We have to use rock climbing gear to get down into it because the atmospheric rivers that came in January of last year took away like 10 feet of our coastline. And so we could still access it by a rope. That's how we got down there before. But now we're taking gear down with us, and the slope is steeper. So we had somebody come out and show us how to do some rock climbing. So we now rappel down. Hannah, who was in that first picture, is one of our elders, and she rappelled down to this area. and collected 5 bags of seaweed and took it to the tribal picnic, and it was the first time in 125 years we had been able to collect from this site. That was a moment. And she was so excited because she descended down. Gravity is your friend when you're going down, so it was a lot quicker going down. Coming up is a little harder. Gravity is not so much your friend. But she did it. She's in her late 60s. She's a Kashia goat. That's what I call them. She's amazing. She's just truly amazing. And she is somebody in our community who just really wants her grandchildren to know. She wants us to know how you do things correctly, how you treat things. And we go to her a lot. Hannah, can you help us translate this? Hannah, what do we need to do? How do we need to take care of this? And she tells us that it is an invaluable resource, such an invaluable resource. Next slide. This is Matini. This is our first time we did it this year, last year, sorry, in June. And this is at State Parklands. You know, the 3D modeling set. So part of this, showing you these things, is that we are building our own baseline data. Matini is a very important village site in Kashia territory. Some of you may know it as Fort Ross State Park. But this is also a place that people can go and collect. And so it's not in an MPA. They can go and collect this. It's also a place that's having a really difficult time recovering kelp beds. And so with the work that's being done and us working with the Greater Fairlawns, I'm like, well, you know what? We need to do a 3D modeling site here. And so this is the second one we're doing. We have 2 more planned. One is at Salt Point State Park, and then the other one is going to be up at Sea Ranch. All in areas that we're going to be doing work in. Gathering baseline. Part of this is going to play into a project that we're doing, because a lot of the talks that I heard about today talk about what's going on, and we have the climate, it's getting warmer, but the snowpack doesn't necessarily need the heat for it to know when it needs to melt. And that's all true, but a lot of the studies don't involve human participation. These areas that we're looking at, we want to bring back tending into them, because they're not being tended. And that goes for the MPAs. And I know that's going to be a fight on our side with the tribe side in some cases, because we want to be able to do a take out of these MPAs, but based on how you should take care of the area on tribal knowledge, and to watch and to measure what it does. What happens with that? Does it improve? Does it decline? And in other places, we want to do restoration of latono, of seaweed, where there is none. And that's part of the reason for doing these projects. That's for our baseline, our looking at it, putting that tribal science and knowledge back into it, and how you care for it, and to see what that does. And we'll see what happens. Next. So one of the things is our connections and how we got things. So Long Point unit, it's really short, obviously. We took out a loan, the tribe took out a loan to purchase the property. That's the one that's next to the reservation. It's under federal, it's a federal reservation now. And our tribal membership gave up some of their revenue sharing, or all of it in some cases. And in case you're not clear what revenue sharing is, tribes in California get a share from the gaming, the tribal gaming that goes on. And so it was so important to our community that some of them said, I will give up my per cap, is what they call it, because I want this land, because we need this land. We need to be able to gather, we need to be able to practice what it makes us who we are. The Kashia Coastal Reserve, with the assistance of the Trust for Public Land, we procured funds from all of these places. And if I forgot any who's watching it from Kashia or from any who helped with this, I totally apologize. It was amazing. And again, tribal membership again gave up some of their funds to require this. That is how important it is for the tribe to maintain who it is and doing restoration and bringing things back to build resilience. Next page. Our partners. Okay, not too small. I have them listed here. There's others. Again, I apologize if I missed you. Tribal Marine Steward. First of all, I want to thank tribal councils that have been with the Kashia Band of Pomo Indians, because of their support and their ability to allow their tribal environmental staff to move forward and do this. Because honestly, without their backing, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And to help them get to this point, to be that portion of their vision. But our Tribal Marine Stewards Network, there's the email there if you wanted to check us out and what we're doing. Greater Fairlawns, OPC, EcoTrust, SIA, Packard, there's a lot that's going on there. Next. And then I just wanted to leave you with this, is for you all to understand. We are all a part of creation. Because if there's another planet that you have to go to, you let me know, because I only know of one. But we are also all part of the problem. So nobody can say, I don't do that. Doesn't matter. You're still a part of it. But we can all be a part of the solution. Yahweh. Okay.
Thank you, Nina. Any questions from the audience? I just particularly wanted to say thank you. I'm struck by this concept of reciprocity and the deep meaning and connection to land and what it means to what you just said, being part of the solution. What are we replicating back to nature? With that, in the presentation that she just gave, anybody has any questions around partnerships, tribal knowledge, traditional knowledge in research?